Hello people, today this is my first tutorial on this channel and I hope that you're gonna like this and that you're gonna learn something from this. I'm going to show you my principles in terms of creating Mick Gordon sound, and after listening to his GDC interview I figured out that with applying some of his techniques you can create your own style to it, and I'm gonna show you my approach to this. So first I'm gonna play this track which kinda replicates his Doom sound, but also his new work on upcoming shooter called Defect, and you're gonna see some of both styles implemented here. This is not finished track, just kinda example where I can show my approach to this style. So let's listen to it. So, some of the key principles that you need to apply here. First of all, Mick said that he used like basic sounds like sine wave and noise. So this kind of sound, this bass, or however you want to call it, is exactly that. I used probably very familiar plugin to you all called 3-aux oscillator. I pan out all my sounds because it helps CPU to call off, and it helps you when you master the track to not have stutters if you have shitty PC. So just I will explain here with effects everything, and you're gonna see. So basically this is like put 2 octaves down, sine wave. This one is turned off, and this is like white noise, also put 2 octaves down and very slightly turned on. So without any effects it sounds like this. Nothing special, you know, but after processing it sounds like this. And that's looped here 4 times. You're gonna notice that all these sections are like 8 bars long. Sometimes it can get a little bit maybe boring while you're listening to it, but Mick explained that in modern compository of music for video games you're gonna have this kind of sections, 8 bars long or a little bit more, I don't know, which they deliver separately, and then programmers use those parts of music to program the game in the way that you, for example, if you just started the level, you're gonna just hear this part looping or this whole part, for example, and then if you see first enemies you're gonna see this part, and then when battle starts to be a little bit more intense you're gonna hear this, and then as it progresses in terms of number of opponents and difficulty you're gonna hear more intense parts, and then when you finish the level or when you are in the middle of the like 2 parts of the level you're gonna hear probably something like outro or some bridge or something like that. So I kinda created like that. This is like intro part, some bridge, then little bit less intense drums and sound effects and bass, little bit more intense. This is like I think most intense part with the sounds, and then this is outro, and kinda that way would level in the game progress, and that's why I created this track like this. If I would approach it like it's complete track in terms of OST, for example, it would be much different and with much more, you know, effects and parts, and I would finish it, you know. But this is just example to show you. So now I'm gonna show you this I'm gonna show you now how I created effects for this specific sound. I changed it a little bit, same same tree, you know, same order of the effects, but I tweak some things a little bit. So probably if I play it now on this first pattern with a 3x oscillator, it would be a little bit different, but you know, that's the principle, you know. I'm gonna show you now. Let me change. Yeah, so here I have this effect chain, and on 3x oscillator now, a little bit changed, it sounds like this. It's a little bit different than this. But you know, I panned it out and then later change it, so you can do it how you want. But basically, principles are following. We have Micro Effects Obscene. It's a distortion plugin, and you have a bunch of presets. I think for this exact effect I used this one. Looks cool, but this one is better. I think this one was for this. Let me see. Yeah, with a little bit more changes in other effects. For example, here I used more ambience, and yeah, this is it. Yeah, this is exactly how it was. So principle is following. First I use distortion. Let me turn all other plugins off for this exact thing. So just with distortion, this effect sounds like this. And without it, it sounds like this. You know how much difference that is. So now when we have this, that's already a lot. Then I use ozone to kind of make it, I give it clarity to kind of make it little bit more dynamic, you know, in that parts which bring up like these mid frequencies and high frequencies, which gonna boost that noise, which Mick says is even more important, I think, than the bass. Then I use bass control, which I put the shit out of it up, which make it punchy and heavy, so it sounds like this now. And I put impact all the way up, it sounds muddy right now, I know. What is important here? Important, as I said, is that noise which gonna be up. I put attack and release all the way down and tilt a little bit back, so now it sounds like this, you know. It brings up this mid frequency and this is going down because punchy part is here. I don't know if you can hear me over the music, but then bass control boost it very much up, and this make it punchy and heavy, as I said, and that impact is going to boost it even more. But I think in original part of the sound I make it like this, something like this. Yeah, it's even better. Yeah, it's even better. So I put it envelope all the way down, and I put envelope all the way down to 32 and something like this, because the bass is not gonna be good if it's punchy. Punch is here, and then here is noise. So it's good if you make it something like this, and then with bass control and clarity it makes it, you know, it goes so up. And don't be afraid to exaggerate everything. Don't be afraid if it's too much. You can fix it later. So I fixed it a little bit with the Pro Q, and it's a little bit, you know, I put the bass a little bit down because whole track will be bassy for sure, and since this is like in the first part of the track, it doesn't need to have like too much bass already, but this part is boosted so everything goes up in these areas where, you know, it's gonna be the main bass. You know, you can kind of hear almost 808 here, you know, and here you hear distortion and noise, and I put this down because, you know, I feel like bass and noise are more important. This is just other part of the sound, you know. And then I put OTT. Then I put OTT, free plugin. Time is all the way up because it makes it punchy. I put this high, this like threshold, I think, all the way down, and everything move up. Upward compression, 200% downward compression all the way down, because depth also all the way up, because I need to apply upward compression. This is also Mick's principle, you know, that DOOM compressor, which he mentions a lot. It's basically this, but we're gonna have like little bit more of this later. You're gonna see even better, but this is like first step towards, you know, DOOM compressor. And everybody knows about OTT. It's used in a lot of genres, and you probably also know about it, but this is for this example and for this track I use these settings. Next, we are going to have Maximus, and I mentioned also that this is real DOOM compressor, because Mick said when you take one sound and put it all the way down, almost to not hearing it at all, and then upward compress it like up until the 0 dB, you're gonna hear some weird noises and some stuff that you didn't even know that it's there. And that's what I implemented. There is also a lot of tutorials how you can do it yourself, but the mistake that I hear and see in those videos is that you don't take the sound and put it all the way down. So I put it like completely down. You can see up there it's minus 69 dB, here also, and also to the master. And you're gonna have quiet, so quiet sound. But this comes to the conclusion that you gonna automatically put it all the way up. You know, it's usually like this. But if you put it like this, it's gonna be automatically at 0 dB, which is here. And I also spread a little highs, mids are how it was, and lows are completely mono. So on the master, I also, you know, you take it all the way up in lows, mid, and highs, and then in the master you take it again all the way down and then all the way up again. So it's basically two-step DOOM compressor. You can do it also in the standard way. You put this back, you put this back, and put this back, and then do it only like here. But I did it in like separate. Each of the sections, low, mid, and high, have also this principle applied, and then also master. So now it sounds like this. You can also hear reverb because I routed this channel to another one and put a reverb there. So I'm gonna now turn it off so you can catch up accordingly. So just with OTT it sounds like this. You know, it's ugly, but now when you applied Maximus, now it sounds like this. Much more like Mick Gordon, and much prettier. You know, it's not that ugly distortion, because I don't know how it works, but it does a good job. Then later, it's almost, you can almost go with this also only, but then I just wanted to implement some other stuff. I used refiner, and I put more ambience because this stuff of Mick is ambient, because it gives atmosphere, you know. So with this plugin applied with this preset, it sounds like this. Which is already very good and very similar to Mick's principles. It gives those, it emphasizes those noises which you can hear them almost separate than the bass, but bass is also there. I don't know how to explain, but yeah, it does a really good job. And you can also stop here and then go with only this, but then I applied a transient processor. I split the frequency like this. I put it just one step above, drive like in the middle, split balance like this, and also put the release down, so it sounds like this now. Which also brings the punch up, because Mick's stuff are so punchy, and I use transient processors a lot. You're gonna see later more, but release is also important because you give that punch and then you kinda let the rest of the sound be like not too much in your face, only punches in your face, and then you kind of let it be here to make an atmosphere, but not to overwhelm you, you know. And drive is like, you can also play with this, you can get a lot different sounds. Next up, we're gonna have spiff like this, boost like this, and I didn't change anything here. I can maybe put this down, sharpness all the way up. It can be even better, but I didn't think it's necessary. With spiff also it sounds like this. Spiff is specific because it's transient processor, but just for the, you know, specific frequencies, and it helps that distortion to kind of push through the mix and you know, give that grid that Mick also have, and that Mick is master of having it and making it. So I just wanted to replicate that also. You can do it in variety of ways, but spiff is like good way of doing it. And also in those tutorials from Keep Forest to make Mick Gordon style bass, he also used a lot spiff in a lot of cases, so I also wanted to use it. Now because everything is so, you know, pushing through the roof, you know, I used again Maximus. Everything is just like it was, but I kind of made it into a soft clipper practically. You can also use Fruity Soft Clipper for this, but I just wanted to have a little bit more control. Nothing special, just to, you know, shave off those things and those a little bit boosted. It gives a little bit more control to the sound, nothing else. And then Skrillex's favorite plugin, Pro L2, Aggressive. It's some Italian guy who is a very good mix engineer, and he uses a lot of Pro Q and Pro L. And he said look ahead needs to be less than 1 millisecond, so it's like 0.4, 0.5. Mick uses like 25, 30 milliseconds of attack and short, fast release. So I implemented that also, and I boost transients and release all the way up. And I chose aggressive for this. You can choose whatever you want. Maybe punchy is also good, but I hear with punchy and all the rest presets, I hear a lot of unwanted, I don't know, artifacts. I don't know how to explain, but you know, I didn't use oversampling and stuff because maybe my CPU would die now when I'm recording it, and I pushed it a little bit just to 0. So you're gonna hear it now how it sounds. You can see here that this tail is kind of product of Mick's principles of putting everything to 0 dB. So then later I just routed this channel to one with a reverb, and then also with the reverb it sounds like this. that's basically all the principles. Later, I used all the same plugins, same order, but different settings for some of those. I used, for example, only these settings for all of the sounds in this track for OTT. Nothing special. I used these kind of samples from different drum kits, sample packs, just to fill up the space, so track sounds like somewhat complete. But yeah, so all these ambiances have just one basic purpose, and that's the atmosphere, also like in this one, but those are applied in different ways. For example, this is also same plugins, little bit different stuff, but I used I think flex, and just one note. Track is in D minor, I think. One D note, short, and when it's put through all this plugins which I showed you, it gets huge. It gets huge even though it's one note, because when you put stuff all the way down and then immediately up to 0 dB, it creates stuff like this. You can hear those artifacts, those noises here and there. This is all this sound, but those imperfections become ear candy when you push it all the way up through the DOOM compressor, if you want to call it like this. So this is basically it. One patch of flex, one note, all those effects, and then you get this. So I applied it also here. Yeah, that's the subtle sound. You can't really hear it back there, but yeah, it's there. You can hear this noises also in it. That's basically, again, flex, one note, and that's it. Every plugin in the chain is same. Also here. Yeah, and then this riser, which I created also, I think, with flex, sounds like this. It's same principles. It's created basically like all these, but just reversed, and then this curve makes it into a riser. This is like from riser from some drum kit. Nothing special, I didn't put any effects here. And then this is also from some drum kit. I think this one was bassy, but I removed with EQ I removed the bass part, and then it blends very cool with this. You know, create that Doom atmosphere basically. And then the drums, I didn't use the same principles for the drums. I just used for this kick I used Pro Q, I used L2 for with the punchy stuff, Spiff to exaggerate the punch again, and then after exaggerating, soft clipper to kind of take control of it, and it sounds like this. And also I applied obscene for snare, Spiff, and L2. With aggressive preset. Nothing special, basically. I could have put the reverb also to this, maybe like this. Not much of a difference, you know, but yeah, you can also do that. Mick would probably do that. Also, later, I reversed this and it sounds like this in this section. It's the it sounds reversed here, and then here it's normal, which brings also a little change in tone. And then here we have a little bit more cyberpunk like and also Defect style more. It's also here. Yeah. If you hear soundtrack song for Defect, you're gonna hear something like this. But yeah, from this it starts to be like more like Defect, and then here again like Doom. But it's Mick Gordon anyways. This gritty sound is basically again like some version of the flex. I think it's not this is not original sound that I put, but these notes are, yeah, it's like classic, you know, pulse rhythm and pulse notes in D minor, and also chain is the same. Obscene, Ozone, Q4, OTT, Maximus, Refiner, Transient Processor, Spiff, Maximus, and then L2. Everything is the same, but applied to different kind of sound, it gives different kind of result, you know. So it sounds like this. You can hear how this distortion comes and goes. This is because of the effect in Obscene that you can apply to go in a different routes through this kind of block and create a little bit more exaggerated and a little bit less exaggerated. I think this is the most exaggerated spot, and this is like basically without effect, or little more, as little as possible effect. And then you have 3 mods, movement, tone, feedback and stuff. Also ring mod I don't like, but yeah. And this is, I think, like output, yeah, output of signal. So applied to this pulse, it gives that result. And then later it's different part. It sounds like this. Also flex, and all the same principles. It's a little bit less bassy because the sound itself is a little bit less bassy and it's more like gritty, but yeah. And then all the same kicks and snares. I didn't use hats, just to not waste time. This is just for tutorial, so it's different pattern but all the same sounds, you know? A little bit change in a pitch. This here everything is the same pitch, but this makes it a little bit different. So it's very gritty with these principles. And then in this section we have basic pattern, I think. And this is kinda this is more like a bass guitar or something, and this effect is just reversed some kind of a brass or something, I don't know. And it sounds like this. To not get any artifacts and bad sounds, I just put it like this, because in this section, if it's out of phase, can make spikes in loudness, which is not good for your mix. And then again I did reverse here and then normal here, and then I did reverse here and then normal here. So for this I think I used subtract with all the same principles applied, all the same effect chain with a little bit changed presets. You know, these artifacts are removed by hand, but yeah, it's because of the DOOM compressor, because of putting everything up. So I didn't use kick here because in subtract you have a melt kick and bass together. I put kick all the way up and in one of presets, and I think this is, yeah, this is the pattern. Yeah, also one of the think this is this one. Am I right? Yes, this is this one. Here is different one, also subtract, by the way, and find it. Yeah, one is be a hazard. I don't know which one. Let me see. Yeah, yeah. I was wrong. This one. Yeah, this one is be a hazard. Yeah, sorry. So, yeah, this one is like melted snare and yeah. I didn't use the snare separately. I melted everything together, which is maybe a mistake. Yeah, I admit, but yeah, I did it like that. It's not a big deal for me at this moment. It kinda helps glue it together, I don't know. Maybe I'm just wrong. And I didn't use automations because a lot of these plugins, for example Obscene, has like a route that you give to distortion, and that's kind of automation by itself, and I didn't bother myself with too much complications of this. This is like for tutorial and basic stuff. But yeah, outro is also basically the same principle. I think it's different flex preset. And then these are the same, and then I created this one. And then I just use artifact from it as outro. You know, just this bleeping part, which sounds cool to me. Maybe not cool to you. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Same principles. You can use, I think, all plugins in the world, you know, doesn't matter which one, but you know, first it goes with distortion. For example, you can use Wave Shaper. A lot of distortion plugins can work here. Also, I had presets with Saturn. Any distortion plugin can do something if it's a good preset, if it's well made for this kind of sound and this kind of style. If it's not too much, it can do the work. Next principle is like clarity. You can go here with any dynamic. You can do it with Q4 and give it dynamic curve. You know, dynamic boost. Bass control gives it a punch and makes it heavy. This can be done, I think, with sausage fattener, with, I don't know, a lot of plugins basically. Maybe R bass, I don't really know, but yeah, I'm sure that this can be also done with a lot of plugins. And then impact, also it can be spiff, it can be any plugin that can brings you up punch. For example, you can do with limiter extension. Instead of compression, you can do extension. From the threshold you put signal up, not down. I can do a separate tutorial about this also. And yeah, but I use ozone for this. Later OTT free plugin. I don't know why you wouldn't do it with OTT, but yeah, I know fuse compressor, something like that. You have a lot of OTT like options. Basically, I think also every plugin that can separate high, mid, low, multiband compressor, every multiband compressor can do the job, but I use OTT because it has upward compression. You can do it also with that plugin from Waves that have upward compression. I think basically every upward compression can do. And then Maximus. I don't know if any other plugin except Maximus, Fuse compressor, and Argent compressor can do this. I could do with Argent compressor, but it kinda become ugly sometimes with Argent compressor. I prefer Maximus over it. And then with that boosted sound to 0 dB, I then use Refiner. Again, very good plugin to give it. It can do a lot of stuff, you know. I used it also on Master. I'll show it later. Transient compressor to make it punchy. Also, you can play with drive, as I mentioned. Spiff to make it a little bit more punchy, but punchy in a way of specific compression, because you got the initial transient punch with transient processor, but Spiff gives it like that grid because distortion can put through the mix. I also mentioned it again, but soft clipping, you can do every soft clipper basically in the world, but I prefer this way because it gives me a little bit more control, boosting and stuff. It gives you a faster solution. You can do in Maximus all of it, and then L2 to kind of give it that flatness, and then that aggression, which is Mick also use it, I know, so yeah, it's standard, you know. So you apply it in basically every sound, make it Mick Gordon like, then completely glue everything up. I will quickly show you also the master chain. I used clarity and glue for first thing on the master. Also ozone with low end focus to make it even more punchy. Bass control to make it even more punchy, all the mix. Clarity to also make it a little bit more present. Stem EQ I used, but I don't know if it helps a lot. I just heard in a lot of basic bass rumble and stuff, but you can solo all of this and try to fix some mistakes maybe that you made during the mix, which is not that good. I don't recommend it, but yeah, you can sometimes solve some things too quickly, and if you don't want to release the track, you are just practicing, you can do it like this. And then impact a little bit for everything. Stabilizer to give it like dubstep curve, which also just brings up those punchy part, punch of the kick, punch of the snare, and you know, punch of the transients of all these effects. And then I solo the bass and little bit boost of highs, maximizer to push it all the way up to make it loud, but I just put it a little bit of upward compression, a little bit of soft clipping, and a little bit of transient emphasis, and then later as a final plugin I give it a little boost for punchiness for the whole mix, and then I measured loudness with this plugin, which makes a track very, very loud, because if you give it like, yeah, I did mention that I put sides all the way in the middle because we don't want side frequencies in the bass, you know, that's the standard. When you push the signal basically almost all the way down here and then again give it a little bit more to the limiter, you can make it very, very loud. That's the Skrillex principle. He used 2-3 different kinds of limiter, and he applies soft clipping, then limiter 1 with a little bit of gain, and then limiter 2 with a little bit more gain, and then like that he don't lose that much of a signal, and then he don't produce that much of a, you know, distortion, unwanted distortion in whole mix. So you can also Google that and watch a lot of tutorials about this. And then in terms of loudness, this track goes very high. You know, basically it peaks at -6 LUFS, which is very loud. I know that somebody pushed it even further, for example Skrillex and also Marauda push his tracks like -5 LUFS, which is crazy loud. And then that's the principle how they do it. You know, I can make a separate tutorial with a little bit more details. But yeah, that's basically it from this tutorial. I hope you like it. I will do, for example, cyberpunk tutorials, also mixed with Mick Gordon and a lot of different stuff. But if you want some principle from here from me to explain a little bit further, a little bit more in detail on some other examples, you can type it in the comments and leave a like if you like it. You can also subscribe, it's completely free, very much free, and see you on the next tutorial.